Journeys Ahead, Draft 2, Chapter 4, Who I Am. Written and narrated by T.S. ProArt. In a slow and tired wake-up, Void opened his large, round eyes to the glimmering lights of golden sun rays above his face. Awkwardly blinking, the spark at first didn't really understand where he was. Rather, his young and shaken mind was back on the events of the previous night. Void groaned as the memories flashed in and out like a strobe light at a frantic disco party. Eviction, pain, panic, fire, all of it swelled like a terrible typhoon inside of his poor subconscious. A miserable swell of so many awful emotions. Mom? Void asked within his weak-minded state, as the gentle vibes around him reminded him of his old home life. Mom, I'm up. Oh. Right. Void then realized as the truth and reality at last settled in around his mind. Where am I? He quietly asked aloud, whilst feeling the sensation of a soft cushion below his body. Curiously looking down, Void found that he was sitting upright on a very nice, neatly put together bed. This mattress was rather large compared to the Spark. Its blocky shape had been donned with soft, smooth orange sheets that were topped by 3 cotton pillows that had a silky texture to their cases. Looking towards his blanketed over feet, Void was met by an array of stuffed animals, creatures that looked both familiar yet also alien. There were dogs and cats, but then an elephant that had 3 trunks and 2 tails. They all looked at Void with beady little lifeless black eyes that reflected off the morning light coming in from the window, giving the illusion of them having creepy tiny pupils. Ugh. He muttered with a wincing and confused face that started to look around more. To Void's right was a large rectangular window that had some flowers and a pot atop its sill. Aurora, the Spark came to realize, as you could see the fancier half of the city through its glass pane in the heavenly morning distance. Hello? The kid quietly asked, as he then gently swung his legs over the bedside ledge and rested his boots upon dark, wooden, square flooring. Moving his now rested eyes up, Void could see the rest of the room in full. It was a square shape like any other, with 4 vanilla cream-colored walls that were actually filled with some pleasant imagery. On the left-hand largest wall, there was an even bigger window that continued to overlook the city, that revealed a structural curve around its southern half, looming like a beast of wealthy power behind the riverstead. Looking below the window, Void was able to see a normal, soft brown, wooden drawer which had some old stickers slapped upon its front. They looked to have been typical things that a young girl would find interest in at an earlier age in life, for these stickers seemed to have started to wither away. There were stickers of a type of boy band, Boba Tea, along with some cats and dogs, the normal type of stuff one would come to expect from an early teenager's mindset. Mixed in, however, were also motivational stickers, words saying things like, "You got this," "I believe in you." Simple stuff that almost didn't seem to match with everything else. Atop the drawer was a turned-off lamp, some old comic books, and a photo frame, making the singular item stand out among everything else. Void huffed before turning to the remaining halves of the room. On the wall across from him, there was another bed, an empty, sheetless bed that lay alone below several paintings, and an old, red electric guitar that was mounted in an upright position along the wall. To these items right and along the corner, Void saw the white vented doors to a closet that linked up to the final wall. To his very right was another upright rectangle that had a brown door on its center, along with old life photos and spray-painted canvases around it. That was his current confinement, Voight realized, before turning back to the drawer and gazing on the photo. Shuffling his way over, Voight at first looked over his shoulder to make sure he was alone, before setting his sights back down and reaching out a metal hand. Taking hold of this old photo frame, Voight raised it up and was met with a family looking back at him. A mother, a father, 2 daughters, and a baby boy, all looking to be present at what seemed to have been the dad's very own mini concert. "Foggy Woods," he exclaimed on a banner, making Voight realize what he had been looking at. One of the sisters looked identical to the girl he had encountered last night. However, now with green eyes and black hair as opposed to orange. Her skin, although still darker in tone, had appeared to be in a lighter shade, a less warmed up hue to put it best. It was then that Voight noticed the father, who was possibly Foggy Woods. He was a large man with a set of mutton chops and a balding head, but he seemed to be holding the same guitar as the one mounted in the room. The mother was tall and skinny, looking like the one from last night, while the sister was shorter and a little chubby. Outside of that and blue eyes, she looked akin to the cloaked phantom from the night prior. The baby was only an infant, sound asleep within the mother's arms, causing Voight to wince with his own memories. They were all dressed in some kind of punk rock or glam rock-like aesthetic, seeming happy, Voight recognized, while quietly putting the photo back down. As he did this, the Spark was then able to note a little bottle with a white top behind where the frame had been. Raising an eyebrow, he picked the small item up, which held a lot of tiny purple pills within, that was surrounded by an orange casing. "Medicine?" Voight questioned, recognizing it to be some sort of medication. Spinning it around within his palm, he found the bottle's white blank sticker front, which read 2 words that Voight didn't expect to see. "Antidepressants," it said, causing his brain's gears to spin and click. "Antidepressants?" Voight quietly asked, before suddenly putting the pills back behind the photo due to the sound of the door cracking open. Whirling himself around, the Spark watched in sudden surprise as a figure peeked their head inside through the barely opened up crack. With a head full of glowing orange hair and a soft and curious face, Jida peered inside, then immediately popped up with surprise. "Oh, good morning," she greeted with a little brace-filled smile, while Voight merely stared at her with questioning eyes. Good morning," he greeted back with a slowing tone to his words, as the guitarist fully stepped herself into what Voight had gathered to be her room. Jida was back to wearing her normal clothes, an orange sweater, turquoise skirt, a similar colored pin beanie, her blue guitar pick necklace, but was without her boots. Instead, in their place were a pair of long socks that nearly grazed her freckled up knees. Jida, right? Where am I?" Voight asked, while noticing a plate of food within her little hands. "Yep, that's my name. And, you're in my home. Well, actually, my cousin's home, or workshop, I should say. You passed out mid-conversation, so we brought you here," she explained, while approaching in gentle steps. Hope you don't mind. Look, we made you some breakfast." Holding her hands out, Jida presented the plate that was donned with 2 blueberry pancakes alongside a glass of milk, which smelled absolutely incredible to Voight. It had been a long time since he had a proper meal. As much as he hated to admit it to himself, he had gone several days without eating from week to week. The times where he did were the salvaged snacks he found within homeless shelters, but more often than not, he would eat the scraps from fast food dumpsters. Now that he was thinking about it, this was the first meal he had properly been given since that day. You made me breakfast?" Void asked in a bewildered state, while carefully taking the plate from Jida. Well, duh. You're our guest. It would have been rude not to at least offer you something to eat. Jida reasoned, as both of them locked their eyes, creating the faint purple shine as seen before. You can eat, right? Looking from her flaming gaze and then back to the pancakes, Void, without warning, sat himself back on the bed and began to eat with his hands in a sporadic motion, leaving Jida a tad shocked. Whoa! Guess that answers my question. She exclaimed with a chuckle as Void stuffed his face in a sloppy manner. Within 30 seconds, the first pancake was gone, and in the next, half of the other was scarfed down into the pits of his belly. It's so good. He grumbled with a full mouth that left Jida chuckling and then sitting down beside him. Thank you, but please be careful. Just don't choke. Before Jida could continue expressing her concerns, Void finished off the second pancake and then chugged the milk down in one gulp. 30 minutes of cooking were now gone within a flash. Sorry, it's just been so long since I've... Void apologized as he wiped his blueberry-stained mouth, while Jida just eyed him down with a now curious stare. It's been a hot minute since I've eaten anything proper. I can't thank you enough. Tilting her head with thought, Jida reached her left hand forwards and used the face of her thumb to wipe away some mist jam upon the spark's cheek. Her touch was as warm as a summer's day, making Void's freckled face tingle with a gentle and comforting flare from deep within. It has? She then asked, while getting close to his face. Yes, it's a long story. One that's... It's not easy to explain. Void replied with a nervous and cautious tone, while struggling to find the words he wanted to say. He had never talked to anyone about what happened. To him, to his people. If he was being honest, Void wasn't sure if he could say it. Outside of her name, Void didn't know much about Jida, this world, or where he was. She may have been kind in the moment, but the last 5 years left Void struggling to just understand the minimum act of kindness. Well, you don't have to talk about this moment, but I would scratch that. Me and my cousin would really like to know a little bit more about, Jida said with her face flushing into a nervous state. What the heck was going on last night? I know I'm smiling, but I'm actually really freaked out right now, dude. We're really worried. Looking from the girl to his plate of freshly consumed food, then back at the girl, Void felt his whole stomach begin to turn. Would he have the strength to explain? Would it be wrong to dump info such as his? It was clear Jida and whoever this cousin was wanted answers. But would they be able to handle the truth? The truth of their world possibly going out like a light. It was hard to tell, but the boy knew deep down that the truth was inevitable. Jida already saw it, fought it. Void had no choice. I guess I can't say no after being treated with such kindness. Where is your cousin? Void asked as his words seemed to shy itself away alongside his glee. Oh, cool, he's downstairs with a friend. You can leave the plate on my bed, it's fine. Follow me. Jida stayed with a nod and nervous smile as she hopped up from her soft sheets and began to exit the room. Come on, Blue. The guitarist called with a teenage sense of wonder, getting Void to stand up to his feet and nervously shuffle his way after the girl that he in truth found to be really pretty. Following her orange glints of glowing hair, Void slowly made his way down a flight of stairs and entered what looked to be a crafty workshop. The place looked like an old sci-fi tinkering set from the movies his father would show him when he was a little kid. This sight returned memories to Void's soul that were now like knives to his heart. Because of this response, the Spark didn't get a chance to look at the miniature junkyard for long, as he then followed Jida through a main entrance area and into a living quarters, where he slightly rounded a door and immediately halted. In a moment of instant panic, the Spark hid behind the entrance door in a cold sweat. Inside the room, sitting and drinking coffee at a wooden countertop, was Nock and his friend Kot, who was a person that was of a group of life forms called Flipside humans. Unlike Jida and Nock, who were common humans, Flipside humans were people born with upside-down, floating heads that were surrounded by a form of natural body water. Early on in Earth's human evolution, these people arose more so in the southern regions of the planet. When they first appeared, they adapted to a world that was more water-ridden than anywhere else. Living in these spaces for millions of years led to an odd change in their genetic makeup, one that would come to define these people in the modern day, by literally turning their worlds upside down. The Flipsides were just one of the many human variants that this Earth had to offer. "Hey, what up, Woods?" Kot exclaimed as he turned his blue floating head and laid back a tire around with a double-fingered point. Kot was wearing a warm, light blue, white striped sweater that was matched with a pair of pants that reversed the pattern. He also wore a pair of small white exercise shoes that topped off the look. "Hi, Kot." Jida playfully greeted back with a roll in her eyes and a smile, as the two of them shared a little bit of a frenemy type of relationship, a big brother, little sister kind of thing. "How you doing, you little rock star? Come here," Kot asked with a smile as he hopped off his seat, approached Jida, took her in a headlock, and began to give her a noogie. "Hey, cut it out, water boy." The guitarist responded back while playfully slapping Kot's upside-down noggin. "Nope, you're stuck with this. That was a school treating you." He then questioned with a silent wink as Jida warped out of his grasp. "Oh, I dropped out just like we discussed last week." Jida revealed with a double thumbs up and a wink back to the Flipside's amusement. "Ha! Awesome, bro. That's Kot suddenly stuttered as Nock turned in their direction with a stern and angered stare. Uh-oh. He wasn't supposed to hear that, Kot thought inside, as he began to think on what to reply with. That's a bummer, bro. Dumb move. You should be ashamed." "I'm so proud of you," Kot whispered, leaving Nock to just slap his own face in irritation. Continuing to hide behind the door, Void felt his metal heart race to the sound of these new voices. Another set of unknowns. People who could freak out on a whim. A threat to him. A threat to his mental state. "Hide," Void kept saying inside. "Hide now, get out of there." Look, I'd love to discuss some Phantom stuff, but there's a more important discussion at hand, Jida said as she turned around, only to see that Void wasn't there. Void?" she asked, causing the Spark's nerves to spike on the other side. From her abilities, Jida was able to sense that something felt off within the Spark. She was able to detect a heart rate rising, hear a stuttering breath. It was then she remembered how Void reacted the previous night. According to him, no one enjoyed seeing his face. At the time, she thought he may have been lying. But the clear sounds of audible, soft hyperventilating from the other side of the door said otherwise. "Hey, it's okay. You can come out. No one's gonna be scared, I promise," Jida assured as both Nock and Kot followed her gaze. What's going on?" Kot asked as Jida gently walked to the door and peeked her head around to the other side. "Void, it's alright. No one's gonna hurt you. These guys are two of the nicest people I know." she assured as Void stood pressed against the door, taking in short and panicked breaths. Here, take my hand. I swear to you, it's going to be okay. Reaching out, the guitarist presented her right hand towards the spark, who eyed it down with a nervous expression. You swear? He asked, with visible tears welling in the corners of his massive eyes. On my dead hamster. Jida stated, getting Void to gulp down, and then, with slight hesitancy, interlock his left upon her right. There you go. Just follow my lead, okay? You're going to be alright. Turning back around and facing herself into the kitchen, Jida stood with a triumphant stare as she began to speak aloud once more. Ahem. Everyone? More accurately caught in the stray rat on the floor. Jida exclaimed with a point towards a rat chewing on an old piece of cheese in the corner. This is our guest. His name is Void. She introduced while tugging the spark, who nervously entered into the light. Void! She tried to finish before the spark jumped in to break the silence. He needed to say this himself. I'm Void. Void Novison. With stunned eyes, Cott crossed his lanky blue arms while Nock, in a slightly similar nervous manner to Void, just waved from the other side of his counter. Whoa! First you drop out of school and now you're having boys stay over? Shame on you! You're turning into a smaller version of me, let's go! Cott jokingly whispered, causing Jida to roll her eyes again and then gently drag Void forwards, who looked upon the two humans in his sight. Greetings, Void. I'm Nock Rogers, Jida's older cousin. This here is my friend, Cott Rivers. Nock introduced with a hand gesture to his chest, as well as a point towards his flipside buddy. Sup, little dude? Cool outfit. Blue really suits you. Totally don't have a biased view about the color. Cott greeted with his laid-back attitude. Jida was right, Void realized. These two seemed to have been friendly and surprisingly not put off by his appearance. But why? He asked inside. Why weren't these three like the others? Why didn't they care all that much? You guys aren't freaked out? Void asked the two adults, which caused them to raise their eyebrows. Well, lower more so on Cott's end. No. Not at all. If you want me to be honest, I actually find that, well, you actually look rather cool. Is that metal armor? Nock asked, as both him and Cott now approached the kids. Well, kind of. Void nervously replied, as the flip side circled him with a curious flare to his oval-shaped eyes. Well, I'll be damned. Nock and the kid wasn't lying. You're like some kind of futuristic cyborg thing. This alien design is not like anything I've ever seen before on those TV channels. This is real. The upside-down face man said in awe, being utterly captivated by the strange being within the room. So, you like from outer space? The ocean? I watch a lot of channel history in the early hours in the morning. I know all about the pyramids of Gonza and how they were formed by totally real extraterrestrials. I will die on that hill, Nock! Cott said, causing the mechanic to roll his eye. Raising his own eyebrow, Void huffed and took a small step back as he continued to stare the strange folk down with his crimson blue eyes. No. I'm from another dimension. A different reality. Void revealed to Cott, but recapped for Nock and Jida, who seemed a tad disbelieved by the looks on their faces. I'm curious. What exactly do you mean by what are we talking about here? Jida rightfully questioned, feeling as Void's grip upon her hand began to grow tighter, as though he was struggling within to explain it himself. Other regions out there call it many things, but given your language, I'm talking about a very real and very active omniverse. I have the technology to jump between almost any and all worlds. Void said in an affirming tone, which seemed to suck the air out of the room to his honesty. Wait. So you're telling us all up front here that there's an actual omniverse like the movies say? It's real? It's really real? Kot asked, while Nock held a puzzling gaze. That's impossible. It doesn't make logical sense for there to be an omniverse. Are you joking with us, kid? Nock questioned with his more reasonable side coming through, as he and Void locked their eyes. The stare the spark gave off was a tired but serious soul, one that had seen too much for his age, one that could say more behind his sealed lips. Oh my god, you're not joking, are you? Nock asked back with shrinking irises, as Void looked to the side and at Jaida's direction. The girl's face was that of curiosity, nervousness, and trust, something that Void hadn't seen anyone give in oh so long. Look, you guys wanted answers, right? Then follow me and listen closely. Void beckoned as he finally felt safe enough to let go of Jaida's hand and turn towards a dining room table. It's been a very long time since I've talked properly. I apologize if this comes off as incoherent, but you deserve an explanation after last night. Just keep an open mind. Void babbled as Jaida, Nock, and Kot all sat around in the table seats. Take your time, Blue. We may not have them, but we're all ears. Jaida assured, while Nock and Kot just listened curiously. Okay. So, as I said, my name is Void Novason, and I believe that I'm the last member from a race of beings that are, to my knowledge, no longer around. Void began as he placed a metal hand to his chest, the crest mark of his people. We called ourselves the Sparks. We were a unique race of beings within the Omniverse, a one-of-a-kind. Well, I should say now that I'm one-of-a-kind. Void sadly expressed as his blue shaded eyes narrowed down in a hurting expression. We were omniversal peacekeepers. Our creators, the Matter Gods as we called them. They gave us life and trained us to help protect realities that couldn't defend their own. We were warriors, knights to put it best, and so much more. To this, everyone looked to lean in, stunned by the tale Void was presenting. A race of omniversal warriors, they thought? Dude, that's like sick. Kot said as a small smile grew on his face. Yeah, we were. Outside of that, us Sparks were a peaceful race that lived in a pocket dimension between realities. A small world we called Salvaheim. Reaching a hand up, Void clicked the top of his chest, and from this, 2 paper-thin beams shot out from the creases between the pointed tip of the Spark's chest crest, presenting a holographic image of Salvaheim. The world looked to be a utopia, a large, technologically advanced city with hundreds of Sparks that looked akin to Void. They all had their own shapes and sizes, horn types and colors. There were odd-looking animals, gorgeous plant life, flying or hovering vehicles, and anciently designed statues and arenas featuring old warriors and all kinds of godlike figures. It was as though the Roman Empire was mixed into the typical depiction of a city set in the future. It was beautiful, everyone thought. So very beautiful. Whoa! It looks so Incredible! Jaida gawked as she leaned her orange shining-haired head forwards and rested her chin atop her hands. It was. It really was. Void mumbled as he looked downwards with a hurtful gaze. Until everything fell apart. The spark cautiously said as he rose a shaking hand and changed the image to a set of blurry photos. Memory captures that appeared to present this once grand city, now turned into an apocalyptic nightmare. The buildings were tossed to the side. Flames and smoke exhausted out from every nook and cranny of where life once thrived. Sparks were both running and fighting against a slew of ugly and horrific monsters, all being capped off with the sky having a torn open wormhole of some kind that held static within. What the? Jaida quietly asked as Void continued to explain. Without warning, we were attacked by an army of monsters that aren't meant to exist. Creatures from a world that is disconnected from everything that reality is. They've been known and recorded via legends and old scrolls, but somehow they managed to break through the natural seams into our own world. Void explained as he changed the image to an ancient depiction of a lotus, leading an army of monsters by his side. They call themselves the Glitched, and they destroyed my world. A moment of silence suddenly fell over the group to this shocking revelation, as Void, with hesitancy, reached into his arm hatch and pulled out the old photo frame. For a moment, he contemplated on whether or not he should go to that rough spot in his life. But he was in this far. He had to now. They had to know. It all happened 5 years ago. I was only 10 at the time. My parents, they rushed me to safety to a portal station at the end of the city. However, due to a lack of power, it only had a charge for one individual. Void said through crumbling words as he carefully slid the family photo to the three at the table. Against my wishes, they sent me through with only this photo and a toy. It was the last time I ever set my eyes on them, on my world, anyone I knew. The Glitches, they took everything from me. In another deep moment of silence, the three just looked at the old and withering family photo, then back at Void, whose eyes had dimmed into a more purple shade of sadness. Tears were now streaming from their sides in silent pellets that halted anyone from saying a word. On my own, I crafted, or rather upgraded, a portal device into my internal system. It was an invention my brother was tinkering with, and I was his test subject. Void stated, eyeing the coal gray orange spark in the photo. From then on, I used it to jump between worlds, searching for a new home, only to be met with fear and ridicule for my appearance. I'm an alien wherever I go, so I turned to street life, living off scraps, making little money, finding my own entertainment, until one day. Void hurtfully rambled as he looked upwards in a stern stare. I eventually came upon a world where they had been attacking. The Glitches, or attempting to at least. They weren't stopping at my home, they were going to other worlds. You see, I've come to learn that they start off by sending one through a rift, which, within a 48-hour time span, would lead to the world weakening and in turn allowing for their crusade to commence. Void elaborated as he changed the holographic image above to a glitch tear, the ones he had been searching to seal. I saw one of those things attacking innocent people, and I lost it. I attacked back and destroyed the monster with barely an inch of my life. Afterwards, I found the portal and sealed it with a device all sparks have within, although I have tinkered with mine to be strictly for glitch portals. The spark continued as he sat down with a tired breath. After that event, I made a vow to track and seal as many glitch incursions as I possibly could. My people had a code, you see, and it's a code I think about every single day. For those we lost, and for those we honor. I guess you can see where it's all clicking into place now as to why I'm here. Void finished with a quivering smile and slumped in his seat. Everyone was stun-locked, to put it best. They were expecting an explanation, but not to this magnitude. It was shocking, disheartening. Void was just a kid, they were all thinking, while glancing at the spark and the photo. Just a kid. Jada whispered under her breath before looking up. Void, she said with a wave of sorrow, while Nock leaned forwards. How are you able to find them? The monsters? He asked, getting Void to give him a stern side-eye. Reaching into his pocket, the spark pulled out the hard drive he had salvaged from his tossed computer, before gently setting it down to the table. I crafted a computer that could identify glitch activity across the Omniverse. It was like my alarm system, an AI. I called him Jet. He would detect the glitch, and I would go. However, Jet got tossed the other day, and all that remains is this information hard drive. A backup. Without the base monitor, I won't be able to track any of them down. Void grunted with a growing sense of irritation. Hell, I was even mapping out their appearance patterns in hopes to find a link way into their reality. It's like an error realm beneath our own feet. It's impossible to reach without a special entryway, you see. So I'm tracking them to see if I can maybe find a source. Void explained as both Nock and Cott examined the hard drive. Your World was the last glitch alert I received before Jet fully went offline. Thankfully, through last night, the monsters themselves are gone. But the portal is still active somewhere. Without Jet's intel, it'll be like finding a needle in a haystack. Void said with growing worry as he glanced his eyes to the side, seeing his backpack hung up on a coat rack through a window to the other room. Wait, hold on just a second. This looks like an early 2000s hard drive that's compatible with an old computer system. I have one of them back in my apartment. I can go and bring it back here and see if we can, link the two up. Cott explained with an excited smirk and perk up in his seat. I'm not so sure about that. The files inside it require a lot of storage and enhancements to a regular old computer. You see, I spent a year modifying my old PC just to be able to reach that kind of power. And plus, I don't think your world's tech can reach that kind of omniversal data. Void said with a continuing slump as Nock scratched his chin. Well, here on Earth, we have technology that can reach the stars. I have a bunch of old parts that came from old satellite dishes and storage systems that could possibly be modified in the Cott's computer. It'll take some time, but if we just play it safe and quickly, we could make a device that's compatible. Nock boasted with a snap in his fingers. If what you're telling us is all stored on a simple hard drive, then surely we can make something work. Nock assured as both him and Cott began to put their brains together and think. Wait, are you serious? I really don't know if... Void asked as Jida approached and placed a calm hand to his shoulder. They build cars and motorcycles, Blue. They've got a good grasp on taking things apart and putting them back together. I think they'll be able to restore your tracker. Jida assured as the two of them already began discussing what to do from across the table. But Void wasn't sure what to say. He didn't even ask them to try and fix it. But here they were planning on it anyways. Void wasn't sure if this was out of the goodwill of their hearts, or if it was out of panic for their lives. Perhaps both, he reckoned. Say, while they do that, how about we go out and get you some fresh air? Maybe we can look for that portal along the way. You look really stressed. Jida suggested, while getting Void the wince with a nervous stare. I don't know, Jida. It's a big city. It'll be impossible at this moment in time. Also, Void replied with a sad look to the side. Well, luckily for you, I know the city like the back of my hand, Jida said as she snapped a small flame to her fingers. I'm also able to detect odd senses within the fabric of space and time. I'm like a metal detector for those kinds of things. The guitarist rambled on as Void slowly stood to his feet. But, he stuttered. Look, if those rainbow glitchy things showed up last night, then it hasn't even been 24 hours out of the 48, right? There's still tons of time. Reaching out, Jai took Void by his hand and began to sprint to the door, leaving the nervous Spark to stutter. Wait, I'm not comfortable with going out on the date. Jida! He pleaded, with a door slam following right after. As the two kids left, Nock glanced from Cott examining the hard drive, and then focusing his eyes upon Void's family photo. Reaching out, he picked it up and stared into the eyes of the four individuals, feeling awful for what happened. It was a lot of information to process, but at the end of it, there was only one thing going through Nock's head. He's just a kid, the mechanic mumbled, as Nock then thought about his own family, the ones who were lost as well to a different circumstance. Guess we all kind of were, he said under his breath before looking at Cott. Alright, Blueberry, let's go get that computer, he boomed, leaving the other mechanic to give a sharp thumbs up. We're on your back, little guy, he said, while the both of them silently thought about the dangers that now pose a threat to their home.